Can you imagine a foe so formidable that even Spider-Man's spider sense fails to detect their attacks? What if a villain could teleport across dimensions, striking from unexpected angles? Will our friendly neighborhood hero triumph over this formidable foe, or will he succumb to the darkness within? In this video, we will discuss the battle that tests the limits of Spider-Man's strength, agility, and resolve. In Brooklyn, there was a Russian crime boss named Dmitri Ivankov. He was confused when he found a strange mark on a piece of paper one of his comrades had left for him. It reminded him of the marks that pirates used to signal someone's death in the book Treasure Island. No one saw who had left the paper for him. When the barkeeper opened the shop, there was an envelope with Dmitri's name in the middle of the room. Dmitri's comrade, Red, told him not to worry about it. Dmitri wasn't sure if it was just a prank or someone was trying to kill him. They had recently received a lot of bad press from a failed drive-by shooting, so their enemies might have sensed their weakness. However, Dmitri refused to be intimidated by any group that targeted him. 2 weeks later in Coney Island, Peter Parker was having a string of bad luck. His roommate was in jail, he was still recovering from gunshot wounds, and his best friend's girlfriend dressed up as a wannabe Green Goblin called Menace. On top of that, the trains were delayed. Peter hurried to the Feast Community Center where Aunt May had been reassigned. He had been looking forward to spending time in Coney Island all week, but when he saw suspicious people surrounding his aunt, he demanded to know what was happening. Aunt May held on to Peter, urging him to help escort Dmitri and his gangsters out of the building, but Dmitri insisted that he didn't need their help and was ready to leave. Aunt May explained that Dmitri wanted to use Feast to show his humanitarian side by giving out free televisions to people experiencing poverty for Christmas and turkeys at Thanksgiving. However, Aunt May suspected that this was just a cover-up for their illegal activities like human trafficking and mafia involvement, and she wasn't going to let it slide. Surprisingly, Dmitri didn't take offense to Aunt May's accusations. She reminded him of his grandmother, which softened his reaction. Peter wondered if the police would help, but Aunt May revealed they were too afraid to stand up to the mob. Plus, she didn't have concrete evidence to prove their wrongdoing. This motivated Peter to take matters into his own hands and find the evidence himself. Meanwhile, Dmitri was boarding a ship for a personal meeting in Red Hook. The person he met refused to talk to anyone of lesser rank and was very strict about hierarchy. Dmitri mentioned a mysterious letter he had received, which he initially thought was a joke or insult. However, seeing his assistant genuinely confused, he realized it might have been a real threat from someone else. At the meeting, the lead arms dealer revealed he was a commander of the Chechen border, a dangerous area filled with guerrilla warfare and suicide attacks. The Kremlin wanted him to have the best weapons, so he got his hands on state-of-the-art ones. He didn't mind if a few went missing, especially since the provincial troops couldn't be relied upon. One particular weapon caught everyone's attention, a lobster gun. This great gun could see through almost any obstacle like wood, concrete, or steel, and with its explosive rounds, it could hit its targets with precision. Dmitri aimed at a practice dummy hidden behind a wall to demonstrate its power and blew its head clean off. The general believed this weapon would help the group achieve cleaner hits, which they desperately needed. There had been a recent incident where a young boy ended up in a coma because of a drive-by shooting, which even made headlines in the Russian media. Dmitri distanced himself from the event and instead focused on buying 6 lobster guns. Little did he know, Spider-Man was nearby, ready to expose his criminal activities with photographic evidence. As Spider-Man pondered the ethics of his Russian jokes, he knew he had to act. Aunt May's gangster problem needed to be solved, and capturing Dmitri would be a major step forward. However, the place was crawling with goons, so he had to wait for the perfect moment to strike. But before he could make a move, something unexpected happened. A mysterious figure appeared out of nowhere and swiftly took down one of the goons. Spider-Man's spider sense didn't even warn him about this new threat. He had to intervene before more lives were lost. In a flash, the figure emerged from a portal, swiftly disarming one goon and using his weapon to stab him in the chest. Another goon was dragged into a different portal and strangled. Spider-Man was bewildered by what he was witnessing. Something was off, and his spider sense wasn't picking up on the danger. He knew he had to get involved before things escalated further and more lives were at stake. As he watched, the general's excitement grew. He had finally found Spider-Man, thanks to his trusty lobster gun. Now he would have the chance to witness the superhero's skills firsthand. Just as Spider-Man revealed himself, he swiftly dispatched the general and took down another of his henchmen. The general's subordinate fled in fear, leaving the general at the mercy of Spider-Man, but little did they know there was a twist in the tale. Spider-Man, still trying to process the situation, was approached by Dmitri. He pleaded for Spider-Man's help, willing to do anything to be saved. Spider-Man agreed on one condition, that Dmitri would testify against his criminal crew. However, Dmitri immediately refused, unwilling to betray his comrades. Spider-Man threatened to leave him behind, but Dmitri saw through the bluff. He knew Spider-Man would never abandon someone in need. After a quick exchange, Spider-Man decided to cuff Dmitri using his trusty webs. As he did so, Spider-Man reminisced about the recent events that had turned his life upside down. From being wrongly accused of being a serial killer to discovering that the government was under the control of the Green Goblin, Spider-Man had become a target of the media, labeled as a terrorist corrupting America's youth. But amidst all the chaos, Dmitri could see that Spider-Man was a force for good despite his troubled reputation. Suddenly, the Spot burst out of the wall, delivering a powerful punch to Dmitri's face, causing him to fall. The Spot then lunged toward his intended target. Spider-Man quickly remembered that the villain's attacks originated from another dimension, making it impossible for his spider sense to detect them alone. Spider-Man had to act swiftly. He shot out a web just in time, grabbing the mob boss's shoe and pulling him away from the Spot. As the villain dragged him into the dimension full of Spots, Spider-Man immediately felt queasy. Spider-Man recalled that this guy used to be a member of Kingpin's superhuman enforcer squad, but his attempt to replicate the teleportation powers of Cloak and Dagger went terribly wrong. The Spot attacked Spider-Man from every angle. Spider-Man managed to grab one of Spot's fists, realizing that the Spot had failed in his bid to become Kingpin's personal hitman and had been struggling to rise above the D-list ever since. He swiftly moved in for a punch. Despite the Spot's initial plan, he had never been a killer. However, if that had changed, Spider-Man knew he had to take him down immediately with his best right hook. But when he tried to strike, his fist entered the Spot's chest and emerged from his face, recoiling back at Spider-Man. Ouch! That hurt Spider-Man, sending him tumbling through one of the portals behind him. It seemed like the Spot had become more powerful or completely lost it. As Spider-Man crashed onto the ground, he realized it could be a bit of both. Either way, it was bad news. The Spot's abilities made him an incredibly dangerous assassin, and Dmitri was in danger. But before the Spot could finish him off, Spider-Man grabbed the portal and shifted it. The Spot might have improved, but Spider-Man still had the upper hand regarding the laws of physics. Spider-Man showed off his immense strength by destroying the portal, ending all the trouble they had been through. He expected Dmitri to confess all his crimes, but once again, a portal separated them. Spider-Man was growing tired of this repetitive routine, especially now that he had finally had the mob boss within his grasp. In a dazed state, Dmitri was flung through another portal by Spot, finding himself dangerously high up in the air, about to plummet from a height of over 600 feet. Luckily, Spider-Man's quick reflexes saved him as a web snagged onto Dmitri's foot, preventing him from hitting the ground. Spider-Man reeled him back in, admiring the Spot's persistence and telling Dmitri to stop screaming. Overwhelmed by the situation, Dmitri informed Spider-Man that he had seen the Space Needle. In that brief moment, the Spot had transported him to Seattle. Spider-Man confronted the Spot, letting him know he didn't care about money or the Spot's criminal past. Spider-Man's only mission was to save lives. He freed Dmitri from the web cuffs and clarified that he wouldn't let the Spot harm him, even if it meant risking his own life. Surprisingly, the Spot remained unfazed by Spider-Man's determination. Desperate for some sign of understanding, the Spot reached into his chest, shocking Spider-Man. The Spot pulled out something and wanted Spider-Man to read it. Reluctant to touch anything from the Spot, Spider-Man eventually agreed. It was a confession, a tale of the Spot's tragic journey. He had been trapped in an anti-dimension after a conflict with MODOK and the Mandarin. Unable to escape, he spiraled into madness, haunted by his son's untimely death. Consumed by revenge, the Spot planned to make his enemies pay. Spider-Man struggled to decipher the Spot-covered notes, perplexed by their meaning. When he looked up, the Spot had vanished. However, a package caught Spider-Man's attention. It bore the name of the child accidentally shot earlier. Removing the webbing that bound them, Spider-Man comforted the frightened Dmitri, assuring him of his safety and addressing the Spot's potential threat. Still hiding in fear, Dmitri's assistant faced a menacing Spider-Man who declared himself the ruler of the night, embodying nightmares for criminals. Spider-Man offered the assistant a chance at redemption by testifying against the gang lord allies. Trembling, the assistant agreed to cooperate, relieved that Spider-Man wouldn't harm him. Surprisingly, a package arrived at the hospital where the child's mother resided. Suspended from the web, it contained the book that her ex-husband used to read to their son. Treasure Island held sentimental value as it was the same copy given to their child before. Meanwhile, Dmitri's deteriorating mental state led to his admission to a psychiatric ward, haunted by the constant fear of the spot's return. Remember to subscribe to our channel if you found this content valuable, and we'll see you in the next one.